In a previous video, I talked about 10 of the worst changes the Splatoon series ever had, and today I want to talk about 10 of my personal favorites. Again, this has to be a change, not a new mechanic. For example, chargers and rollers getting the extra flick or charge hold in Splatoon 2 is one I debated, but that would count as a new mechanic. This is a change to an existing feature. Anyway, with that out of the way, subscribe if you enjoy, and let's get started. First up, skipping the news. Now, obviously, this would probably be way lower on most people's list. I'm just getting it out of the way because it's a freebie and there is not a lot to talk about. Of course, this was a good change that everyone likes. It's really hard to say much about this. Anyway, number 9, crab tank nerfs. So the Splatoon series has had a pretty bad job of nerfing some of its weapons, one of which made it onto the previous list with how they handled the Splatoon 1 top tiers. But they also did a bad job with the Splatoon 2 top tiers, like the nerfs to the dually squelcher, Brella, Explosher, or H3. Again, yeah, I think H3 might have the worst luck with nerfs in terms of going between two games. Like, it really went from top tier to low tier to top tier to low tier again. Maybe one day they'll fix it. But Splatoon 3 has done a lot better with this overall, and the best example is to Crab Tank. This was a special that was taking over the game, and it could have been very easy to nerf it into the ground. Instead, a really creative change was done with it, increasing the amount of lag after you exit ball form as well as get the special broken. This keeps the feel of the special being slow as its main weakness and expands upon it, making counterplay against the special feel a lot better. Make it have to use ball form for a turn or even break the special, you get rewarded a lot better, and it makes it feel a lot more satisfying to counter while keeping it in a good spot and maintaining the feel of the special. At number 8, the change to make the Rainmaker automatically reset after a certain amount of time. Yeah, so people might not realize this was not a thing in Splatoon 1. Wherever the Rainmaker was, someone had to pick it up to either jump it off the map to reset it, or run it to the enemy base while you couldn't build a special of your own. It was something that made the mode feel absolutely horrible because when the Rainmaker was really stuck in your base, you had to fight tooth and claw to get it out. As an honorable mention in this category, Splatoon 1 also added Rainmaker free zones, and Splatoon 3 increased the penalty of do not retreat and Rainmaker free zones to reduce stalling. Both are also good, but adding an automatic reset is definitely the big one here. Number 7, the best buff in the series. There have been a lot of cool buffs throughout the game's history, like Wiper being able to swim after one horizontal slash, greatly buffing that weapon's movement, or Splash having no jump RNG. But Squiffer's has to be my favorite. It's entirely unique to anything with the charge, be able to not have a speed penalty in the air. That gives Squiffer really unique movement options as well as ledge peeking, and makes the weapon feel a lot more fluid. Seriously, anyone used to Squiffer in Splatoon 2 or 3 going back to Splatoon 1 would feel insanely awkward, as it's basically the core of how that weapon moves nowadays. Really cool how a simple balance change can completely redefine a weapon. Number 6, special depletion slash points for special. So nowadays, everyone's pretty familiar that whatever weapon kit you have has a sub, special, and points for special. But in Splatoon 1, this wasn't the case. The points for special still existed, but it was attached to the specials themselves, which was pretty horrible. For example, Inkzuka is 220p on everything. Doesn't matter if you're a 10 attack that can paint very well, or a Koro roller with a wall. Yeah, those are both 220. So you can imagine the problem there. In patch 2.7, possibly the best update to ever happen in the Splatoon series, special depletion was introduced as a mechanic. This gave every weapon a unique amount of special lost upon death. Later, this would evolve into points for special when Splatoon 2 came out. And this mechanic of having the points for special being attached to specific weapons for balancing purposes has been in the game ever since, and it's greatly benefited the series. Number 5, substrafing being made universal. You know, Nintendo doesn't really have the best policy when it comes to glitches, and a lot of people forget that substrafing was a glitch. Splatoon 1 substrafing did not work on Seekers and Ink Mines, but the mechanic did work on everything else as the community found out. When it went to Splatoon 2, Seekers were replaced with curling bombs, which could substrafe, but Ink Mines could not. After a bit of time passing, however, in patch 3.0, Ink Mine was changed to be able to substrafe like everything else, and from there, every sub added to the game has been able to substrafe. Hell, you can even substrafe with the clams in Clam Blitz. It's really cool to see what was a glitch adopted into a recognized mechanic, and with Splatoon 3 Squid Rolls, a lot of people were worried that substrafing would be replaced. But nope, it's still here as an extra mechanic. It's really cool to see this become a staple in the series accepted by the dev team, because honestly, it's something that really improves the flow of the game. Number 4, the training room upgrade. So yeah, now we're getting to the stuff that's better than just most balance changes. The training training room is a huge change of pace. It's not that much better than Splatoon 1 or 2's by any means. I mean, I still miss being able to throw bombs into the basket or shoot 3 dummies in a row to get a little bit of a cheer. But wow, is it worth the upgrade of having a jukebox, a dummy that can shoot back at you, and most importantly, being able to use the training room while you're waiting for matches. It gives people something to do while making it much more accessible, and it's honestly a really cool change. Number 3, the UI changes. This is a general category where so much could be talked about. Did you guys know in the olden days of competitive Splatoon 1, because main abilities couldn't be changed and you couldn't see your opponent's gear abilities, there were people who memorized what shoes had stealth jump and called it out to their team at the beginning of matches. Another thing you had to keep track of was the specials. People would get really good at special tracking in competitive Splatoon 1 because outside of seeing your opponent's hair glowing, there was no indicator for when they had it. These are just some of the many UI changes we got to see throughout the series. From things like being able to see your and your opponent's gear abilities, see things like recalls on the map in Splatoon 3, being able to see all the weapons and when they have specials from Splatoon 2, and just so much more. Seriously, the UI from Splatoon 1 to 3 is like night and day. They have made so many incredible changes, and considering just how fast and how many stuff is in this game, it's incredibly necessary to have UI as good as this. Number 2. The camera change. Oh, this is the one thing I always feel when I go back to Splatoon 2. The camera kind of auto-drifts a bit in Splatoon 2, and even Splatoon 1, though it's a lot harder to notice given that game has less native input delay for its motion drift. This means in Splatoon 2, we were kind of always fighting the camera and never really realized it. In Splatoon 3, it now takes a bit before this camera drift takes over, and that, alongside some other small changes, have been huge for the camera, and making it feel like it controls even better. If Splatoon 4 can keep this, along with reducing the motion delay to match Splatoon 1, I cannot wait to see what people could do. Number 1 is the most obvious one though. Salmon Run is available all the time. Salmon Run being available at limited times is such a baffling design decision that I've seen people who barely know anything about Splatoon bring it up. That's how you know it's pretty damn bad. As much as I would really love to celebrate this change, it's kind of odd that this had to be changed in the first place, so unfortunately I don't think this ends on quite the high note that I wanted to. Still, I hope the changes as a whole are something that people enjoy. The series has truly come a long way from when we started, and it's nice to see a lot of the small ways this series gets better outside of the brand new things being put on the table. The small, subtle changes end up going a long way more times than not. But anyway, what did I leave out? Let me know your favorite changes in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.